Hello everyone, welcome to another video in our collection on Python. Today we are going to talk about conditional statements. We will learn how to make choices in our code using conditional statements, using if, elif, and else, and work with Boolean values, true and false. So conditional statements can change the code behavior based on certain conditions. This idea is very simple. If a condition is met, then a set of actions will be performed, and if it's not met, then something else would happen. So as you can imagine, this is one of the most fundamental concepts in any programming language, because you have a set of actions, you have a set of tasks that will be conducted or executed, and you have to control. There are different behaviors the code can have, so you have to control the behavior of your code using conditional statements essentially. This is like, even if you have a very simple program, for example, a program that is in a coffee machine or is used in a washing machine. So they have a lot of these conditional statements. So if the temperature of the water reaches a certain point, then stop the heater. Or if there's more water in the system, in the device, than a certain level, then just stop pumping water. So this is very essential in any programming, no matter how simple or complex the program is. So a simple conditional statement. Yeah, so let's start. So this is a simple conditional statement. We have a temperature value of 17. And then we have an if condition, an if statement. So this is how you write a condition, essentially. Python is very intuitive, so the syntax makes a lot of sense. So this is the if statement. So if, then you have a condition here. So this condition can be anything, and we will look at the possibilities later on. But yeah, so if the temperature is greater than 25 degrees, this will happen. So it can be anything. In our case, we are keeping it simple and fast. We just have a f string, a print statement printing something. So if it's more than 25 degrees Celsius, we are going to say that it's hot. And else, if this one is not valid, then this will happen. So if the temperature is not greater than 25, then we will have this printed out. So let's just run this. Our temperature is 17 degrees. It's not greater than 25. So we will, this one is not, the condition is not met here. So the else statement happens. So if this is not met, else will happen. If this was met, if the condition was met, then this wouldn't happen. So let's try this again with another temperature, so 26. So in this case, it's hot. So the first statement, the if statement, is valid, else is not executed. So this is the logic behind comparison. So the comparison can be different things. You can also check if a value equals something. And it doesn't always even have to be numerical. So here we have an example of weather. So as weather, we have a string. So if the weather is rainy, you are going to tell your user that they need a raincoat, and if it's not rainy, then they do not need a raincoat. So we are comparing a string, and we are checking it with an equal sign. So if the weather equals rain, then wear a raincoat, and if it's not raining, then do not wear a raincoat. So you can do also, this is the equal sign when you are making a comparison. So remember, if you have only one, this is for assigning values. So when you're assigning a value, so this essentially makes weather equal rain, which is not what you want to do. In conditional statements, equal is shown with a double equal sign. So this is a source of confusion for many. Okay, so we already saw a few examples of, we saw a couple of examples of different comparison operators. So we have the equal to, which is a double equal sign. You have not equal to, which is an exclamation mark followed by an equal sign. We have less than, we have greater than, less than or equal, greater than or equal. So simple math. And what the result of a comparison in Python is a Boolean value. So the returned value is either true, the condition is met, or it's false, the condition is not met. So here are a few examples. So is a cat equal dog? So it's not about the animal, it's just comparing the strings. So these two words are not equal, so the result is false. But if you're asking if the condition is that a cat is not equal to a dog, then this is a valid statement. You're going to get true as the output. The same applies for the numbers and when you're doing comparisons. So these are the comparison operators that you can use. And what you get as the output, as I said, is a Boolean value. You can see here. So if I just test this condition, the temperature, the value we had for temperature is 26 up here. So when I test it against 25 degrees, it is greater. So I'm going to get true as the input. But if I test if 26 is greater than 10 or greater than 30, then it's false because this condition is not valid. So we already looked at the structure of an if condition, a conditional statement in which you have if, and if that condition is not valid, then else will happen. We can make this a bit more complex. You can have basically several if conditions. So if the first one is not valid, then you go with elif or else if. So if this doesn't happen, how about this one? So you can have multiple of this. So you can have multiple elifs. So if this one is not happening, then it goes to the next one, then to the next one. And if nothing worked, then the else statement will happen. So let's try this with temperature -3. So let's just run this. Well, it works with temperature that we had already. 26 degrees is above freezing, of course. If we change the temperature to -3 and rerun this cell, then things are a bit different. Because, yeah, so the -3 degrees Celsius is below freezing. So if I add another elif, and remember, indentation is everything in Python. So look at how I'm doing the indentation. So all the if and elif statements are in the same line, and then I have a block of code starting after each of them. So these do not necessarily have to be in the same line, but as a good coding practice to make things look neater, nicer, it's good to keep them in the same line. So I can have another elif here, and if the temperature is greater than 30, that I'm going to say it is just hot. So if I try this with the temperature 30 and I rerun this, you can see that you get 30 degrees is above freezing point. So why is this happening? The reason is that you have multiple elifs, and as soon as one of them is met, the condition in one of them is met, the next one is not executed, so it just skips the rest. So in this case, 30 degrees is greater than 0. So this is met. So if is met. So 30 degrees is above freezing point, then it skips the rest. So even if you have another condition that is acceptable or valid, still it's not gonna get executed. So when you're writing this, just be careful that the if and elifs that you're using actually make sense. So that's why sometimes you may end up just combining your conditions to handle more complex situations. So I will give you another example here. So I have three temperatures: a hot temperature 35 degrees, warm temperature 24 degrees, and a cold temperature -4. And this is my condition. So if hot temperature is more than warm temperature, and cold temperature is greater than warm temperature, then both parts are true, else this would happen. So the point here is the comparison itself is not that important. The point here is that you can combine different conditions with and, or. So in this case, this will be only true if both parts are valid. So well, we have an and, so it kind of makes sense if you know English. So if this is correct and this is correct, then this will happen. If one of them is not correct, if one of them is not valid, then this whole thing is not valid. It moves on to else. So both of them need to be valid. So if for you it's enough that one of them is valid, then you would use or. So if this is valid or this one is valid, then print this. So at least one of the tests is true. So this is for combining different conditions. Depending on what the condition is, what is the situation you're testing for, you might end up using and, or. So usually choosing between the two is easy because, well, the statement makes sense, and or, and you usually know what you want. It's not difficult. So we have previously looked at for loops. So here we will see a quick example of how we can combine for loops and if statements. A simple example, but very close to what you do usually when working with real data analysis. So we have a list of temperatures, and since we have a list, it makes sense to write a for loop so we can efficiently go through the items we have in the list. So for temperatures in the list, so it's a list of temperatures. If the temperature is above 25 degrees, I'm going to print that it's hot, and if it's not, then it's not hot. So if I run this, I can see that this is executed for each of the lines. For some of the lines, this is valid, and for some of them it's not valid, then this one is executed. So this is an example of how you can control the behavior of your code within a for loop. You're going through a large data set, and for different rows of your data, for different values, in the for loop you want to take different actions. So this is a very typical example of how you would use conditional statements inside a for loop. So now we know how to use conditional statements in Python. Again, this is a very core topic in Python, so you will get better and better at this as you progress during the lessons and get better at Python. So see you in the next video.